Today, our topic is going to be the success formula is always the same, part 2. And today we're going to focus particularly on mindset. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And today, I'd like to invite you to join Eli and me. We're going to go over why 95% of society has the wrong mindset, and most importantly, how to correct it to get the proper mindset. You know, I started in on this particular topic because I was looking at some videos, as I mentioned last time, that I'm a student just like you. I want to learn things. You know, I'm logical stuff is not very high on my list of things that I know. Kind of ignorant in that area. So what do? I get on the YouTube just like you do, and I'm looking for things like, you know, how to get one video I looked at was from Sean Cannell, how to get your first 1,000 YouTube subscribers, 7 steps. He's a video influencer. And then Jevin Dovey had a video also. And when they were going over how to do things, I couldn't help but think, as they were moving along, that every single thing that they said reflected the success formula. So it's the same for YouTube as it is for everything else. Guess what? That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. Napoleon Hill, excuse me, when he wrote his book Think and Grow Rich, by far and away the highest selling book on personal development, was commissioned to go out and speak to the 500 top successful people of his day. And when he did so, he expected to find 500 different ways to become a success. But instead, he found that the formula was the same time after time after time after time. And that remains the case today. That will remain the case from 20 years from now, from 50 years from now, 100 years from now. Because principles never change. There are laws of the universe that work consistently and without prejudice. This is one of them. So this is the science of success. So let's talk a little bit about mindset. And part of my rant on mindset today it concerns what they teach you in school. The first thing they teach you in school about failure is that failure is for the dumb kids. Only the dumb kids fail. That's the worst possible thing. Oh, you got an F. That's the worst possible thing. He's a failure. Failure's for the dumb kids. There's no gray area whatsoever. The same happens to apply with the word discipline. If they have somebody that's like, this is the person in charge of discipline, that's not a good thing. Eli, when you get called to the office and they say, we're going to have to discipline you, guess what? It's an uh-oh situation. Discipline is a positive thing. Failure is a positive thing. The system in school champions conformity. Now, do you see the irony that we admire the creative end result of imaginative thinking, yet we fail to stimulate it in our schools and in our society, and instead champion a doctrine of conformity? You see, creativity requires a willingness to be wrong, and experimentation practically guarantees errors are going to happen. That's the main factor in the promotion of conformity and practice in our society, and the demotion of the practice of creative thinking. So, what is the system designed to do? The system is designed to keep us in our comfort zone. Here's fact A, here's the question, write the answer. There's one answer. This is the one that's always right. The idea is for you to get things right and to move to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, so you're not taking any risks whatsoever. Failure, once again, that's the worst possible thing. Our system is designed to make you feel safe. Here are the questions, here are the answers. Unfortunately, life is not always as crystal clear as that, and if you want to advance to new heights, you're going to have to take risks. So my point is that we have inbred it into us from school and at home to some degree that failure is the absolute worst thing that can happen. You don't want to take any risk because you then put yourself out there where you might fail. The people in the 5% group accept failure. They know it's going to happen, and they treat failure as feedback to tell them that they need to go in a new direction. They need to look at things from a different angle, a different paradigm. Success is based on your habits. If you have the habit of not ever doing anything where you could possibly fail, you're certainly limiting your success possibilities. Now, when I was watching one of Jevon Dovey's other videos, he had another one where he had a bunch of guys that were also successful on YouTube that said, he asked them to say, tell me the 2 things that if you had to do it all over again, the biggest mistakes that you made. And when you look at these, once again, you go back to the success formula. Here's the first one, okay? The first gentleman said, he thought that variety content would work. And he says, if it takes multiple sentences to describe what you do on YouTube, your audience is going to have a hard time finding you, and the algorithm will not reward you. All right, let's translate that a little bit to the success formula. You've got to have a singleness of purpose. If you're all over the place, there's no such thing as being, the handyman that can do a little of this, a little of that, so on and so forth, and achieve excellence. There has to be some sort of specialization. There has to be some sort of bullseye, some sort of target. And if you cannot describe your purpose, your objective, your identity in one short sentence to a 4th grader, you're not doing the job right. And here's the issue that evolves from that. If you're kind of all over the place, he talks about the algorithm. The algorithm on YouTube is what makes your video more available. They suggest it, so on and so forth. They favor your video so that more people will watch it. But let's take the big algorithm. The big algorithm is the universe. Do you want to receive some universal inspiration? If you have that singleness of purpose, if you've identified what it is you want as your objective, and you've made it crystal clear, then that vibe gets sent up to the universe, and the universal algorithm will respond with intuitive thoughts, mind flashes, create circumstances for you, but you have to have an exact bullseye, what you're looking for, in order to be successful. I got a lot from that YouTube suggestion, didn't I? Another one is from the same gentleman, was feeling entitled. He said, YouTube is hard. Just because one video did well, don't think you're entitled to success on your next one. Fairly self-explanatory. When you are performing, your dreams, goals, ambitions, as you achieve them, are going to change over time. What happens is you reach one pinnacle, one peak of success, and when you get up there, then you're able to see further out, and that inspires you to go for more and more and more, which is the way it should be. But just because you were successful in one area, make sure that you continuously use the same components to be successful in your second area. Another YouTuber said, if he had to go over again, one of the things that he did was he focused on views and subscribers instead of quality content. In other words, the why you are in business. I see businesses do that all the time. They need to have particular statistics to show some government agency or to show the Home Office or, excuse me, to show some entity that they're producing. They focus on statistics instead of focusing on creating value for their customers. When you create the value for your customers, the statistics will follow. When you focus on the statistics, what happens is you tend to shortcut what it is that you're in business for. Always remember the why you are in business. That is a key to success, focusing on the why. If you focus on statistics, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a cut that's this big, all right? It stops the bleeding a little bit, but it's not going to cure what ails you. Another thing that the same gentleman said was to focus on thumbnails. If you don't have if someone looking on YouTube sees a thumbnail and it's not attractive, they tend to pass over it. And if people don't click on your thumbnail, then you're not going to be a successful YouTuber. Well, the same thing applies to you as an individual. And I'm talking about appearance, I'm talking about conversation, I'm talking about enthusiasm, I'm talking about all the different things that are humanity. Having a pleasing personality, being able to engage with other people in conversation, knowing when to keep your mouth shut when somebody says something. These are all things that if you are not, quote unquote, attractive in that way, you're not going to get as many opportunities. And once again, being attractive is not just appearance, although that is certainly an important thing, but the way you speak. If you're talking to someone, and you're talking to someone that's a president of a company, that'll work with your friends, bro, all right? But it's not going to work with the president of a company. So you need to keep these things in mind, that you have different personas. Okay. Another one from a different YouTuber was just plain outright fear. He was afraid to get started. Now, in our last video and on other videos that we've talked about, one of the things that generates fear is that people can't see from the beginning all the way to the end. In other words, when they're starting their journey, they're looking to have green lights from the moment they get in their car until they end up at their destination. And life isn't like that. Just the same way as when you get in your car, you get in, you go to the stoplight. If it's green, you keep going. If it's red, you stop, and then you start again with a new starting line. The key point, though, is to get in the car and get to the starting line. Don't have the fear that, oh my goodness, there are going to be red lights along the way. Successful people tell us that once you get moving, once you gain momentum, and you know this from driving, for Pete's sakes, all right, that once you get moving and going, you're getting closer and closer to your destination. Just expand that philosophy out into the business world. It works there too. Another thing that this gentleman talked about was copying versus modeling. He pointed out that one of the things that he first did was he copied one of the big shot YouTubers and was trying to imitate him. A guy named Casey Neistat, I believe is his name. I'm not somebody that watches anything except what I'm focused on, and that person's not in my particular wheelhouse, but I've heard of him. Right, so he's a big shot, and people were and this guy was copying what he was doing. And there's a difference between modeling and imitating. Back in the day when I used to teach people a certain presentation, and I'm teaching them presentation, and my boss, because I was very strict on, no, that's not the exact word, let's use the exact word. And my boss said to me, Eli's dad, you've got to let people be themselves. Give them the main body of what they need to know, but allow them to model what you're doing, but also to put in their particular condiments, if you will, to put in their spices, their seasoning to the subject matter. And that's an important point that I learned from one of my mentors, a gentleman named Jeff Wasp, right? He said, you know, give them the framework, but allow people to add their own personality, because everyone is a little bit different. So it's good to model, it's not so good to try and imitate exactly. Lack of focus. This is another YouTuber. One of the things that when this gentleman was starting his channel, he couldn't say no to people. Kind of reminds me of that line from the Godfather, which is, every time I go out, they pull me back in. All right? You have to choose not only the people that you hang around with, the people in your orbit, your posse, if you will, but you also have to choose what you're going to do, how you dedicate your time. And one of the things that you want to do to, you know, you have to learn, unfortunately, to say the word no. No, I can't do that. I have a focus. This is my focus. I have to say no. I'm sorry. But you have to learn to do that. And some people never learn to do that. One of the other things you want to do is you're going to run into issues, hurdles, potholes, whatever you want to call it. Don't try and do everything alone. One of the things that's a great thing to do is to find your tribe. People that have the same passion on the same subject that you have. You know, one of my best memories when I used to be a basketball coach in the Bay Area in California was after the games, we would all go to this bar and have a beer, and all the coaches from the other teams would come to this bar and we'd all discuss the games. That was the tribe, right? Now these guys were competitors, but they had the same passions that we had, and it was like so much fun. I was just starting out. I was like a first-year coach, and there I am sitting there with people that have been coaching for 20 or 30 years, and I'm listening to them tell stories and talk about referees and talk about this and that and this player and that player, you know, just like the way the guys do on television, you know, about LeBron James, you know, they're talking about their players, they're talking about the other teams. It was fun. It was the tribe. Get together with those people, because one of the things that happens is we all run into the same issues. Now, another thing that happens is a lot of times when you're having an issue in your particular business, you put yourself in a position, or just by being a human being, you're put in the position of making an emotional decision. If you're able to identify and then express that issue to somebody else, they don't share the emotion, and they're going to give you a logical solution to your problem because they're not tied to the person on whom you're making the decision. So it's a good idea to have a tribe, to share with people, to work together and find those people. Those are people that you want to carve out some time to spend with. All right. Another YouTuber said it took him a year to shoot and edit his first video. Why? Because he was concerned about judgment and criticism. He said, if I had to do it all over again, and then he says he even scrapped the video and didn't even use it. He said, go out, make mistakes, and gain experience. Have we heard that before? Get to the starting line. Trial and error. Make mistakes. Plan, do, review, adjust, repeat. Same thing over. No matter what venue you're talking about, the success formula is always the same. Now, trends come and trends go. This other YouTuber said, you know, I started doing this and then I meandered over to that and my focus was varied. He says, do stuff that you want to do. Now, in life, you stop and think about it, you spend most of your actual lifetime at work, 8 hours a day, going to and from. You have sleeping time, but most of your time, the number one place that you dedicate time is in the workplace. Now, if you want to be successful, it takes passion to generate drive, persistence, and excellence. And if you're not passionate, how are you going to be motivated to overcome obstacles and repetitive, tedious tasks that are always part of the process of success. You've got to find something that you love doing. You're going to dedicate most of your time. Find something that you love doing. Embracing the big why you are in business is essential to significant achievement. It all starts with your why. And then when that happens, you assume your identity with passion of the person that you want to become. Now, our thought for the day comes from a person with perhaps one of the greatest names that I've seen. I just saw this person's name. His name is Ray Goforth. Is that a great name or what? And here's what he says, and I quote, "There are two types of people who will tell you that you cannot make a difference in the world. Those who are afraid to try, and those who are afraid you will succeed." And because we will never end one of our meetings on a philosophical note, let's get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.